everyone. I am doing an impromptu interview with the real Facebook whistleblower, Ryan Hartwig, in light of a couple of developments. One, the 60 Minutes regarding Frances Haugen, and wanted to check in with Mr. Hartwig on what is the truth, if he can give us some intel. Welcome, Ryan. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you, Maryam. And so the 60 Minutes interview aired on Sunday, and about a month ago, the Wall Street Journal had come out with these articles from an anonymous whistleblower. And so it turns out the anonymous whistleblower was her, Frances Haugen. And so, one of the first stories that came out with this was this X-check tag, the X-check policy, where Facebook protected VIP users, right? And so when I saw that article, I reached out to the Wall Street Journal, of course, because I'd been talking about the X-check for the last year and spoken about it with Tim Pool, and it was in my book that was published in mid-August. So you'd think that, they'd have the journalistic integrity to mention me, but it's been a month and they haven't, of course. But so now we know that she was the source. So she was the anonymous whistleblower. She's now public. So a couple of things really stuck out to me from her interview on Sunday with 60 Minutes. So something that kind of jumped out is she said she lost a friend to online conspiracy theories. So I'm like, okay, so she had a friend who, I don't know, did the Tide Pod challenge and died. When I say the phrase lost a friend, I think someone died. But no one died. She just, they stopped being friends because this person.
She lost a friend to the dark side of conspiracies.
Yeah. And so anyways, that was the phraseology she used. I thought that was interesting. And she talks about, how she worked for all these different companies and how, she worked for Pinterest, Google, and none of them, were as bad as Facebook because they weren't willing to censor enough content of misinformation. And that's the problem is these companies can define what is hate speech. They define what is misinformation. And recently it tends to be, right-wing politics. That's misinformation. That's conspiracy theories. So that's the problem right now. And so she's basically arguing for more censorship. She called it a betrayal of democracy. And so, I mean, my argument is, yes, there was censorship of conservatives, but I'm not saying that there should be more. I'm saying there should be less censorship of both sides, both on the left and the right, because this could flip back on them in a bad way if there were, people on the right in charge of things that wanted to censor people on the left. So that's her basic argument. There's this conflict of interest. Facebook's not doing what's good for the public.
Can I interrupt I just want to say that reminded me, first of all, like Zach called me and he's playing it in the background. I'm like, what's that? And he was like, I can't believe this. Who is this person? Mm-hmm. And then I watched it, and it reminded me of when Sacha Baron Cohen was brought on by the ADL, and it gives they're pretending that the ADL is going, tisk, 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 Google, you need to do a better job. Meanwhile, they're working together. They have a relationship. So this is a very twisted way. What kind of whistleblower asks for more censorship?
Right. So in her mind, I guess they didn't do enough. So she says the civic integrity department was abolished, according to her, after the November election. So I was there when they redesigned our queue for action and content. They redesigned it in preparation for the 2020 election. So it's called the civic harassment queue, and it basically allowed for more content to be brought into our queue for like bullying or attacking public figures. So we got to see more content related to public figures, like comments under Hillary Clinton's profile or Donald Trump's. And she gives the example of this meme that said, by bullets or ballot, we're going to, win the election. And so, like, is that a call for violence? It's not a direct call for violence. Is this country based on, does this country have a very bloody history? Yes, it does. So her argument is, hey, Facebook should be more safe. They're not looking out for the public interest. They're looking out for profits. Now it's funny because she actually makes some of the arguments for us, because people always argue that Facebook's a private company, they can do whatever they want. Well, if they're trying to do what's good for the public, then yes, they are a public square, which means that it needs to be accessible to everyone, because you can't just keep people off of the public bus or the public transit that you disagree with their political views. So, and you can have a homeless person on the bus who's ranting conspiracy theories and yelling, and there's nothing happens. There's nothing illegal about that. And so she kind of made our argument for us that yes, it is a public forum. It's not a private company. They cannot just do whatever they want. But yeah, that was her basic argument. Facebook needs to save our society. The other main point I want to make is that they talk about children or teenagers being, anorexic and having suicidal thoughts. That's not the government's responsibility or Facebook's responsibility to save those teens. It's the families, it's the parents. Where are the parents of these teenagers who are spending tons of amount of where are the children? Where are the parents of these children who are spending so much time on Instagram and Facebook?
I mean, you can argue that just the very nature of social media itself is creating anorexics and bulimics, because it's amplifying what these young women already see on magazines.
Exactly.
And now they're seeing everybody, all of these Instagram celebs or whatever. So
even before the internet, it happened with magazines. I mean, women always had an issue. Teens had an issue with that. So those are a few key points.
Now,
yeah.
So I don't want to invalidate her, but at the same time, 60 Minutes giving credence to this whistleblower when you've been actively blowing the whistle on Facebook for 2 years. Like I was telling Zach, like somehow it not discredits, but silences or co-ops the story. So why is it that they've chosen this one? I mean, Zach gave me an answer. Is it because she's answering all the right things and basically she's not a conservative?
Right. That's a good question. So, yeah, because I went public last summer, so it's been about 16 months. So yeah, I've done over 160 interviews throughout the world, in Japan, Brazil, Russia, in Spanish and Portuguese. I mean, so if there's anybody who's been outspoken for free speech, it's me. And I wrote a 300-page book that just published, the Behind the Mask of Facebook, which you can see right there. But so yeah, why are they giving her this platform? I think it's because she's willing to talk about. She was willing to blame essentially blame part of January 6th on Facebook. So she's essentially saying that they didn't do enough to prevent people from organizing. And so the thing is here, like, what are you going to do? Like, delete the entire internet? Because how are you going to prevent people from organizing to meet up in person? Like, you can't. It's almost impossible to stop. So, yeah, 60 Minutes gave her this platform because she wants more censorship, and I think that's their strategy, is to give congressional control to Facebook. So as if it wasn't already bad enough. Like, and so in the testimony today, Senator Blumenthal was talking to her, and he said, "Hey, there's probably other whistleblowers out there like you." Well, there's other whistleblowers out there. I don't know if they're like Frances, because not all of them want more censorship, and not all of them want to attack our individual liberties. But the congressman thanked her and said, "We're going to protect you legally and make sure there's no retaliation." And I've talked to several congressmen about it, but you'd think there'd be some common ground, and there is some common ground against Facebook, because they're doing a lot of bad things. But I don't think the thing is, when you have so much of the internet traffic on these websites controlled by Facebook or Google, then you say, okay, let's have the government come in and control these entities. Then you essentially have the government controlling the internet, which is antithetical to the whole concept of the internet to begin with.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, I agree. And it's a sneaky way of like calling for help, like come and help us, and justifying further censorship. So, Sunday happens, and then the following day or the day after, then there's a outage.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is this a white hat operation? Is there something in Congress that's coming up? Are they trying to, are they trying to hide or scrub? You tell me what do you, from your deep dive and analysis, why did this outage happen?
There's a couple of theories, and I can't say this is pure speculation. So
sure.
One theory is that they knew going up ahead of this that they were going to have some issues with regulatory issues, and Congress was going to request documents, and so maybe there was an opportunity for them to scrub their servers of documents that would be damning to Facebook. The other theory is that they're implementing a new censorship system, and so they had to kind of do a reset on their system. But I believe that Mark Zuckerberg did make a significant amount of sell of stocks in the last month or so.
Really?
So that could be an indication. Yeah. But I do need to run right now. But
okay.
Yeah, it is a huge coincidence.
But is it an inside job? Do you think?
Is she a plant? Like, she very well could be a plant. I mean, propping someone up to say that there's not enough censorship so that Congress acts to allow Facebook to censor even more. But everything Facebook is doing, she specifically mentioned in her interview, she said she's talking about the person that she lost her friend to an internet conspiracy theory, and she said, I never wanted anyone to feel the pain that I felt, and I'd seen how high the stakes were in terms of making sure there was high quality information on Facebook. Facebook's job is not to make sure there's high quality information. That is what a publisher does,
right.
And they're an interactive computer service per Section 230. They're not an information content provider. So that, once again, she's making our case for us. She's giving great ammunition for these lawsuits: Jason Fick's lawsuit, Trump's lawsuit. I'm gonna get going here, but thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Ryan. Where can we find you before you dash?
Yeah, ryanhartwig.org, and you can buy my book through there as well. It's on Amazon, it's on bookstores, but yeah, the best way to reach me is just ryanhartwig.org.
Okay, I'll put a link, and hopefully I'll see you at AmFest in a few days.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Bye, Ryan.